Hi everybody, I hope you are all well. It's a bit of a cloudy morning here in the south of England, but it's going to be really hot again just for today and tomorrow. We're going to be up to about 30 degrees again, so I'm doing this quite early in the morning just so that I can actually think properly when it's still rather cool. Um, so this week I've been busy at work as usual, but also I went to the cinema yesterday. I went to see It Ends With Us, and as a big fan of the book, I have to say I absolutely loved it. Yes, they've made changes because of course it's the nature of the beast, but I am really happy with the changes, and I Atlas is my favorite character. I absolutely adore him. And I have to say, I was a little bit nervous just simply because I love him so much that it wouldn't be right, But as soon as I saw him, I was like, that's not just Atlas, that's my Atlas. It's the Atlas that lives in my heart and soul, who I just adore so much so I loved it so much I burst into tears as soon as I saw him, and I couldn't stop crying for 2 hours. And the other people in the screening were probably thinking, why is this random woman crying because that actor has just appeared? Nothing has happened. It's just but yeah, I had a really good time watching it. It sets the tone very much like the book. It feels like a non-standard film because it really does the slow burn, but you need that slow burn because it's really important to the narrative of the story. So I really respect the filmmakers for doing that, for giving that time to be able to tell the story properly. And as I said, yes, there are some changes and such. I can deal with them. It's fine. It's not necessarily exactly the same as the book, but it still keeps to the purity of the book. It always keeps that at its epicenter. And I really love that. It's really respecting the story. And people who have been through the life and situations that Lily finds herself in. So yeah, I have to say well done to absolutely everyone who was involved with making the film. I will definitely be going to see it again. I really enjoyed it. But anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about the book I have been reading this week, which is Anthony Horowitz's Magpie Murders. Now, in case you didn't see any of my previous videos where I've talked about this story, Magpie Murders, I got introduced via the drama first because it was adapted for on TV for the BBC. Oh no, wait, hang on. No, I think I've got that wrong. I think it was something like PBS in association with the BBC. It's one of those ones where it's multiple organisations across the world who are involved. So if I've got that wrong, my apologies. I've got that wrong. But yes, it was shown on the BBC here and PBS in America. And I thought, oh, this is a really interesting concept. And I watched the drama and I adored it, to the degree that I watched it, I think, the whole series 3 times over 3 days. It was something like that. I was just like, you've got me hook, line and sinker here, Anthony Horowitz. And so I got the book, but I just hadn't got round to reading it. And I was picking my books to put into my jar, ones that I wanted to read. And Magpie Murders was on there on my bookshelf screaming at me to put it in a jar. So I did, and now I finally picked it, and I'm here to talk about the book. So what is Magpie Murders about? Magpie Murders is about a man called Alan Conway. He is the writer of this massively popular series of books about a detective in the 1950s called Atticus Punt. And he's doing well with his books, and he decides that he's going to write the last one. And it's called Magpie Murders. And his copy he finishes his copy, first draft, should I say, and sends it off to his publishers and his editor. who is a woman called Susan. And Susan's been working with Alan his entire career, so she knows him very, very well. She gets the manuscript, she reads it over the weekend, and finds that the very last chapter, which reveals the whole who did it, as it were, because obviously Magpie murders, there's murders in there, it reveals obviously who did it. That chapter is missing. And she's like, what the hell? Has something gone wrong with the file coming over from Alan? What the hell? So she waits until Monday to go into the office and basically say, look, chapter's missing, but en route, she hears, in the book it's en route over the radio, but in the drama she gets it in person at the office. She's told that Alan has committed suicide. And there was a suicide note, but the suicide note doesn't seem right to Susan. It doesn't make sense. So she decides to go to Alan's house and try and find the last chapter, because clearly he would have it. It's his property. He would have it. And in the process, she starts asking questions about how Alan died, and there's a whole mystery. But she soon realizes that all the people in Alan's life, in the village where he lives, are actually characterized in Magpie Murders. So, for example, in Magpie Murders, it's about a woman, Mrs. Blakeson, who she was a maid at Pie Hall and was found dead at the bottom of stairs, and it's her murder that's been investigated. And as part of the story, she had a massive falling out with her son right before her death. Alan, in his real life, had a massive falling out with his son before his death. And so she realizes, yeah, all the characters in Magpie Murders are real people from Alan's life, all of who have a motive to kill him. So in order to discover what really happened to Alan, she needs to discover what really happened to Mrs. Blakeston in the book. So she's got two murders to solve at the exact same time, as well as trying to keep hold of her career, because obviously if there's no final chapter, it's not worth publishing, and they need the book published in order to keep the business afloat. So that's basically Magpie Murders. So Anthony Horowitz, I've just pulled up some information about him, because I know a load of his career, but it's crazy the amount of stuff that he has done. Okay, so this guy, this novel came out, I think it was 2016. Let me just see if I can confirm that. Yes, 2016. So quite relatively recent, but still quite a bit away from where we are now, being 16. That he has been writing a lot over the years. So his works for adults include the play Mind Game, 2 Sherlock Holmes novels, which are called The House of Silk and Moriarty, 2 novels which feature Susan Ryland, which is from this book, so Magpie Murders, and then the sequel book, Moonflower Murders, and 5 novels featured in a fictionalized version of himself as a companion and chronicler to private investigator Daniel Hawthorne in The World is Murder, Silence is Death, The Line to Kill, The Twist of the Knife, and Close to Death. The estate of James Bond creator Ian Fleming chose Horowitz to write Bond novels utilising unpublished material by Fleming, starting with Trigger Mortis in 2015, followed by Forever and a Day in 2018, and a third and final novel with A Mind to Kill in May 2022. Horowitz has also written for television, contributing scripts to ITV's Agatha Christie's Poirot, adapted 6 early episodes of Midsummer Murders from the novels of Caroline Graham, including the first 3 episodes. He was the creator and writer of the TV series Foyle's War. I love Foyle's War. It ran on for like 7 series. He wrote every single episode. He also wrote for Collision and Injustice and the BBC crime series Crime Traveller and New Blood. He also wrote the Alex Rider book series, featuring a 14-year-old British boy who spies for the MI6, the Power of the Five series, known as the Gatekeepers in the US, and the Diamond Brothers series. So he has written a lot of crime books. So when it comes to this book, which obviously is far down his career of TV writing, film writing, book writing, all to do with crime and such, he's written a lot. So I knew I was in good hands when I came to read this, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. Now, I know that people are going to pick this up. Some people are going to love the structure. Some people are going to absolutely bloody hate it. But thinking about it, reflecting on it after I finished the book, I've realised that his choice to write it in the way that he did for this purpose of this story makes absolute sense. So what he does is that there's a little introductory sort of couple of pages where Susan says, "This is a book that changed my life," and you'll find out what I mean as you go through. This is a story that is going to be puzzling. It's going to be full of crazy stuff going on. It's going to be full of a lot of characters. But yeah, follow me through this, and we'll see how we go. And really weirdly, it also well, not weirdly, but I love the fact that after the few pages of Susan's introduction, basically saying, come on, read this and see what you think about it, you then get Alan's cover, you get Alan's biography, you get the praise for Alan's work, you get the series of Alan's books. It's like a proper published book. It's really interesting. And then it goes into Alan's book, and for the first about 300 pages, all you read is Alan's words, Alan's story, Magpie Murders, and then you get to the end of the penultimate chapter, and then Susan takes over, and that's actually our first proper introduction to her. Yes, she did like an intro at the beginning, which is only a few pages of her saying, by the way, what you're about to read is XYZ, but we don't know her. We don't meet her properly until 300 odd pages into the book. And then it's her, getting the manuscript, reading it through, finding out about Alan, going off, investigating all that lot. And then there's a bit of jumping back and forth between the Magpie Murders and a first draft and her investigating. So the page number system is, if you just look at page numbers, it's a bit garbling. So the end of the Magpie Murders stuff, which is there, 275, you're then onto page 4, and then you're going through, just comfortably, just going through, making your way, and then all of a sudden you're back. We're back into different writing, different text. Also, what is really, really bizarre as well is the fact that, well, not bizarre, but it makes complete logical sense, is that Anthony, to make it clear who is talking about whom, has completely different fonts for things. So Alan's first draft, actually I want to show you on a page where I'm not accidentally spoiling anything. So it's in this font. It's typewriter font, basically. Then when we're with Susan, we go to very Times New Roman, just very, everything. And then when we've got written statements or something, like this is Alan's sister writing a piece about her brother, we get a completely different font. So whenever you have a shift of tone, a shift of writing, he makes it very clear with different fonts as well. So so it feels like you're constantly flowing back and forth. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. I didn't actually show you with the page numbers. So we went from 275, then we went to page 4, and that ended at 230. I'm not going to show you that top of that because that's spoiler, but 230 right there. And then because we get the missing chapter, we jump page number again. So we're 279. So we're back to where we were with Magpie Murders. And then when we get to the end, we are on to, then we're on to 231 for Susan. So if you were to go by page number, it ends on page 234, but actually this entire book is like 560 pages. So it is a little bit like, what page am I on again? So you know how sometimes, like, you know, when you, I don't know, you drop your bookmark or something, you go, oh yeah, I remember I was at that page. This happened to me a couple of times where I dropped my bookmark and I was like, okay, I was on page 120. Wait, which section? Page 120. I don't know. So yeah, that was just me having a bit of a... So I feel like for some people, this structuring is not necessarily going to work for them. But in order for you to be able to understand Alan's story and what he was trying to say in it, but also how Susan then steps in and she has to investigate, you have to see all of Alan's work first and then be at the point where Susan goes, right, wait, the final chapter is missing, and then we can follow her through. But what is really good is that when Susan has her further investigation, then she goes through every character, she goes through every location, she even goes, oh wait, you know, Susan, I quickly flip that through, oh yes, page 160, line 5, this got mentioned. Why is it that the character said this when on page 74 at the bottom of the page they did that could be something. And so you literally can then go exactly to the page number and the line reference that Susan is talking about and reread over what she's referring to. So things like that allows you to then be almost the active detective alongside Susan as she is going through and trying to figure out what happened. So it makes it into more you are being the detective at the exact same time. You're not an outsider looking into this story. And I really, really like that. There is something just so intriguing about that concept. The way that Anthony writes is just absolutely brilliant. He is so versatile in the way that he thinks and describes and shows the world, but also his characters always, no matter, and I'm not just talking in this book, but also other works that I've seen him write in, either like TV shows, films, and you could say books as well, like those Alex Rider books and James Bond. Just by the way, with those, I've literally just like picked up and read a little bit in a bookshop. I haven't actually sat and read those. So based on my on my little bit of looking at here and there, but obviously mostly this as well, all of his characters are so genuinely real. And that's what makes everything so intriguing, that you can completely understand why every character did what they did. In this book, you can completely understand why every single character has a motive to kill Alan, just as in his novel, Magpie Murders, that you can understand why every character would have a want to kill Mrs. Blakenson. So it's just so intriguing, his world, his character building, and the end of this book is so good. I remember when I first watched the drama and I was like, oh, you clever man, you clever man. I loved Anthony for what he came up with. And also, I really, really love his detective in this. Not just Susan, because obviously Susan is our main detective, as it were, but also Atticus. I find Atticus so intriguing. He's a man who you wouldn't think twice to look at, which is a really valuable strength to have as a detective. And he's private, but he's also very open and warm to talk to people. He's so intrigued by so many things, and he can see things that other people can't, which always is a really valuable thing to have as a detective. And sometimes, Susan gets frustrated because she can't see the thing that she desperately wants to see, and you can always feel her like getting angry at Atticus, going, "Why won't you tell me what happened?" I love how Susan and Atticus kind of play off each other, but obviously because he's fictional, they never meet, they never have that, but they do something very interesting with the drama about that, which I'll talk about in a bit. But I like the fact that Alan is not a nice man. He can be nice to people he respects, but a lot of the time he doesn't respect anyone. And this is why it's like, oh yeah, you can understand why everybody wanted him dead. But I find his motives for doing things that he does very interesting as well, because sometimes it's out of greed, sometimes it's out of just wanting to be it makes someone feel bloody annoyed, and sometimes there is some dark, nasty shit inside of him that you wrong him in any way, and he will basically fuck you over. He's one of those characters, but I like that it's a complete anti-hero in a way. But when we understand everything, oh my god, I love the choice he did with Atticus. I'm not going to say what it is because obviously spoilers, but nice. And I agree with you, Alan. I agree with you. I really thought that was sweet. I really don't like you, but Jesus Christ, you did a blinder there, mate. I loved that. I fucking loved it. But yes, it's a book that it's very well paced. The construction, because of the type of story that this is, makes sense, and I think was the best option that possibly could be done. But I know some people are gonna have issue with it. I love the characters. I love the way in which this is just so, what's the word? I can't think what the word is. It's just sort of encased in this perfect world, and the fact that it's just this little fictional village where nothing happens, but so much happens in this book, and it speaks volumes a lot of quiet village life and the sinister things that can grow underground. It's just absolutely brilliant. I enjoyed every single second of reading it. It was absolute joy to read. But as mentioned, I was somebody who went into this who knew it very, very well because I've watched the drama so many times. I just absolutely loved it. So when it comes to the drama, we have I've just literally just pulled up the IMDb. So we have Conley Hill, who plays Alan Conway, who you might know from like Games of Thrones and such. Leslie Manville, the amazing Leslie Manville, my Mrs. Harris, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, plays Susan, and Tim McMillan plays Atticus Punt. And Tim he's one of those people that as soon as you see him, you know him, because he's been in so much stuff. He's like, I swear he's obsessed with doing period dramas, because it's very, 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 very rare that I've seen him do something where it's actually modern setting, because it's just, I'm so used to seeing him in like Georgian gear or something, or playing Atticus in this. He's in 1950s. The drama is absolutely wonderful. It's so well put together, extremely well adapted, and what I love was that the structure in the drama is completely different from the book, because this structure works for a novel but it doesn't work for TV. You can't have it that you watch the entire of Alan's book up to the penultimate chapter for, like, I don't know, 2-3 episodes, and then only meet Leslie Manville halfway through the drama. It just, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So what they did was that they overlapped them, and so we see we're introduced to Susan, what her job is like, her private life is like, and that weekend she reads the book and we get some kind of drama, and then she turns a page and it's blank and she's like, what the hell, the last chapter is missing, what the heck is going on? And she finds out, as mentioned, rather than over the radio in the back of a taxi, she finds out about Alan at work. Her boss tells her. And that's when we start seeing more and more of Magpie murders being played out as she goes to Suffolk, and as she starts investigating, we are introduced more and more to the story. But what is so bloody wonderful, and I was just like, oh, chef's kiss, I love it, is that Atticus starts kind of haunting Susan. She sees him like in the mirror of her rearview mirror of her car when she's checking her mirrors. She sees him at Alan's funeral. She sees him in the corner of her room, and then they start having conversations, and she's going, tell me what happened. I need to know. I can't figure this out. I need to know. And he tells her, sometimes you've got to take a step back. Sometimes you need to re-question things, and then you'll find it. I promise you, you will find this, Susan. And so they play off as this kind of, because you could say sort of like, the stereotype that you do get in like police dramas of the lead detective and the young detective who's still learning about the job and everything, and they want to rush off and do it, and he holds them back and goes, wait, and it's about learning from each other. And Susan really learns a lot about Alan, and learns something that links to her, which Leslie Manville just plays absolutely beautifully. It's a really interesting moment, that part in the drama. I really, really like that. But what I love as well is that, because obviously the characters from Magpie Murders, Alan's novel, is the reflection of characters in Alan's real life, the actors play both sets of characters. So like you get Daniel Mace plays the bumbling detective from the police who Atticus kind of doesn't really like and such, because he's just he's a bumbling idiot. And Daniel Hayes also plays the detective in the village who Alan knew and such. So we get to see these actors playing two different characters one in the 1950s and one in modern day at the same time, cutting back and forth. So yeah, the way in which they've done the TV drama really works for TV. The way the novel has been done really works for the novel. So I would say, give both a go, see what you think. I would really, really, really recommend the drama because I just love it so much. And it's 6 episodes. All of it's on BBC iPlayer if you have access to that. And it's just so good. I just bloody love it. But obviously, if you want to pick up the novel as well, I'd say go for that as well. It's a really, really good novel. So yeah, I just had a blast reading this book, and I started rewatching the drama last night for, I can't remember the number of times I've watched that drama now. But I absolutely love it. I think it's such a great story. It is so well constructed. It's a hard story because of the concept and everything, to do it. But because Anthony is so skilled in his writing, it feels like if anyone can pull it off, it's Anthony. And he did a magnificent job. As mentioned, when I was reading out details of his works, there is a second book of the Magpie Murder series. I don't know if there's going to be a third one. No clue. But I would like to give the second one a go. But I'm not going to tell you about the second one, because the second one, literally the setting alone, will tell you something that is a spoiler at the end of this book. So I'm not going to mention it. If you want to Google it, you Google it. But yeah, I quite like to read the sequel. So those are my thoughts on Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. So let's ask my usual questions. Would I read this again? Yes, I definitely would. I think this is going to be one of my go-to, just one of those books where I know every time I pick it up, I'm going to smile, I'm going to enjoy it, I'm going to be immersed in the world, and I'm going to love every second of it. Would I recommend this to anyone? Yes, definitely, but I would warn them about the structuring, that it might not necessarily work for everyone, because the first 300 pages being in Alan's novel and then being taken out to be in Susan's world. But yeah, I definitely recommend it, as well as very much the drama. So yeah, because I love it so much. Would I read any more of Anthony's work? Yeah, definitely. As I said, I mean, I've only picked up like other of his books to sort of flicked through when I've been at a bookshop, but I've not actually sat and read any of his other works. I know more of his TV and film related work than his novels. So yeah, I think I might give another novel a go. So yeah, see how I do with that. But there we go. Those are my thoughts on Magpie Murders. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comments box below. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, tab to let you decide. And I'll be back with my thoughts on my next read, which I am so super excited for, which is The Enigma of Room 622. I'm very excited. I think I'm going to start this like right now, to be honest, because I'm like, yay! We'll see how I go with that. I mean, I'm going to be so heartbroken if it turns out that I don't like this book after so much hype in my head about it. But I really want to read it and see how I go. So yeah, I'll be back with my thoughts on that as soon as I'm done. All right then, everyone. Bye.